fixture. You might give us a sense of the importance of fulfilling this fixture to Irish basketball.
Yeah. Well, as you said, Joe, and I remember being with you on one of those Sundays in October, and it was just being appalled what was going on in Gaza, and it's been unrelenting, as you know. And it was around that time where the Eurobasket game, as you said, that was meant to be in Tel Aviv, was cancelled, was postponed, we should say. And it was a case of when it would be next played, or if it would be played, you could argue. But as you said, Basketball Ireland have felt obliged to partake in this game because ultimately FIBA Europe have been very strong. They have very severe sanctions and penalties if you do not fulfill a fixture. So if Irish basketball did not fulfill this fixture, they would be fined €80,000. And if they did not fulfill the return game, which is scheduled for November, they would be fined a further €100,000 and risk suspension from participating in the next Eurobasket qualifiers, which would be the equivalent of basically a 5-year ban. And while 80,000 doesn't seem big in the scheme of things for an individual NBA player or for a lot of NGBs, it is huge for a sport like basketball and for a program like the senior women's. Like I would have explained in the Examiner today, that the history, I suppose, of the Irish senior women's program is that Ireland were contending very strongly in the late 2000s, but because of the financial dire straits that the NGB was in, Basketball Ireland, it had to withdraw from international competition, which was for the guts of 7 years. And even then they were in the lower dwellings of it. They used to participate in a biannual competition called the European Small Countries. So it's only in the last 2 years that basketball and the Irish senior women's program has re-established itself at this tier, playing the likes of France. An Olympic medalist were in Dublin in November. So just when they've got their footing back, the money, as we said, that fine would be basically fund the Irish senior women's team for the next 4 years. If you threw in the extra $100,000, you're talking about 180 grand, which would sustain the Irish senior women's program for the rest of the decade. So they are caught in this bind. As you said, 5 players have and look, it's usually you get a release as to who is available for an Irish team a week out. That hasn't been released here. They're obviously hugely protective of the players, and it probably will only be when they're getting on a plane or when they're lining up for the national anthem in Tel Aviv on Thursday week that we'll see who actually were there or who has gone ahead. But I think every player and that staff would rather not be fulfilling this, but they feel obliged because after the sport had lost a decade, they probably would be losing another decade.